I remember like entering the draft and having absolutely no idea if I was going to get drafted, when I was going to get drafted. And when I showed up to the draft, they sat me next to Rose Lavelle, and I was like, oh, this is probably a good thing. Like, because I know she's going to go first.
Today, I am so excited to be sitting down with an absolute legend of the NWSL, someone who's won almost every award that exists: NWSL Championship, Shield, Challenge Cup, Rookie of the Year, even the Golden Boot. She's been a key part of some of the fiercest attacks in the league, from back in the day with me and the North Carolina Courage to present day with the Washington Spirit. It is my friend and former teammate, Ashley Hatch. Hatchie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. Always an honor.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm really excited you're here. I know you're busy with a really competitive and busy NWSL season. If people don't already know this, Hatchie also makes these really great social media videos, sometimes with her husband, Jeff. She co-hosts a podcast called Ditto that's all about mindset and sports. So Hatchie, I'm so excited to see that you have your professional podcast setup going. And I wanted to ask, podcaster to podcaster, I want to know like your Rose and Thorn of podcasting. What's the best part and what's the hardest part?
Oh, I love this question. I think the hardest part, honestly, is having guests on because I want to do so good for them. I want to like tell their story well. I want to ask good questions, like the preparation. I just get a little more like stressed and excited. The upside is honestly, I learned so much like from Matt and from all of our guests. So I feel like even when there's days where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like recording, I'm always like so happy after the recording because I was like, that was amazing. Like I learned so much, and it's been such a like area of growth for me and like life, just learning and growing and trying something new. So yeah, I would say that's my rose and my thorn. What about you?
I am excited that you asked so I can answer. The part about sometimes you like don't feel like doing it, but then afterwards you're like, oh my God, that was the best. That happens to me. I mean, I don't not feel like doing it often, but whenever that happens, and then I have this great session where maybe I like reconnect with a friend or get to know somebody better, I am always like, wow, like this is such an awesome job. I'm like so lucky that I get to just talk to people and like hang out with my friends as my job.
Yeah.
The thorn, man, honestly, sometimes we do these late night shows where the national team will play at like 10 o'clock at night, and then we'll like do a show at midnight. And that is hard for me because I like to go to bed early.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's a tough one. But again, usually I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to do this. And then we do it. And it's so much fun. And like we have fans calling in at 1 a.m. and like it's just very, very cool. So
that's cool.
Overall, I love it. Okay, so Hatchie, before you were this very multi-hyphenate athlete, podcaster, producer, philanthropist, you were a kid growing up in Gilbert, Arizona. You played your college soccer at BYU, where you set records, you racked up major award nominations. You got drafted second overall into the NWSL when you graduated from college in 2017. And that's when you came to play for the North Carolina Courage with me. And this was such a key year in Courage history because it was our very first year in North Carolina. What do you remember about getting drafted to a new franchise? And what were your first impressions of the team?
I remember a lot. Honestly, it was such an exciting time. I remember like entering the draft and having absolutely no idea if I was going to get drafted, when I was going to get drafted. And when I showed up to the draft, they sat me next to Rose Lavelle, and I was like, oh, this is probably a good thing. Like, because I know she's going to go first. And so, yeah, I was just really excited, really honored. I didn't know too much about the league, to be honest, just because I was so focused on college and wanting to make sure I made the most of that experience before heading into the next experience. And so I heard that, North Carolina was a new franchise, but it was, you guys were coming from the New York Flash and you guys had a very successful season. I remember I had my first full national team camp with you, and you were actually my roommate. And so I was like, okay, I at least know one person. Like, this is great. And then I got drafted with Darian Jenkins, and like, okay, I know her. So I was just like really excited. A lot of people were like, oh, like that team is really amazing. Lots of star power on that team. You'll learn so much. And yeah, I was just so excited for like the new opportunity to just learn, to take my game to the next level, and just to be able, I mean, everyone was so excited to bring soccer to North Carolina. So I thought it was really fun to just be a part of it all.
Wait, I did not remember that we were national team roommates. You need to tell me what you remember from that. Was I a good roommate?
Yeah, you were great. Well, I remember, so I was so nervous because my only experience with the national team before like getting called to the full team in college was I went to one U23 camp in like a summer and it was absolutely terrible. I had no idea what to expect. We did was fitness testing and I just like I absolutely hated it. And so my next experience was like my coach calling me into her office and she was like, "Oh, like do you know who Jill Ellis is? Like you're going to the full team camp here in Utah." And I was like, "What?" Like yeah, she's like, "Yeah." And so anyway, long story short, I show up to like I think we were staying at like a Marriott or something in Salt Lake and I go into the front lobby and I'm like so nervous and I can't remember who the guy was, but he like handed me the envelope and was like, "Sam Mewis is your roommate. You're so lucky. She's so nice." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited." And I was so nervous and you were so nice. Like I remember like getting into the room and you were like, "How's it going?" And you had just won the NWSL Championship with the Flash and I was like, "Congrats." And you were like, "Thanks." And then I do remember like the night before the game, I was like trying to like study the set pieces and you were like, "You might go in, so you should probably like know the set pieces." And I was like, "Okay, thanks." And I like studied them a little extra. So I'm really glad that you were my first roommate.
Oh my God, Hatchie, this is like our origin story. I like cannot believe I didn't remember this and like plan to ask you about it. Hang on. I bet the team coordinator was Tim Ryder, and I'm literally so honored that he said that to you. That is so nice that he said that you're lucky. And wait, did you go in that game?
Yeah, I did. It was my first cap.
Oh my God. And did you feel like you knew the set pieces?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really have any because we were just like, I think we were playing against Switzerland and we were just like attacking and we were already up. And like you were on the field, thank
Okay.
goodness. And you were like telling me what to do. And I was like, "Okay." You were like, "Yeah, just keep the ball and blah, blah." I'm like, "Okay, we got this." And it was like so much fun. And yeah, it was a good overall experience. And then we were
Oh my gosh.
teammates at North Carolina.
I know. Wow. I'm like actually so overwhelmed hearing about this. It's so cool. It's so great to hear that I was like a good roommate and like a good
Why are
teammate.
you
It's literally so
why
fun.
are you shocked?
I
You
don't
were always a
know.
good teammate.
I think I'm shocked because I just like I should have like remembered more about this
Well,
and I should have
you
planned to
were
ask you
like
about it.
big deal like in your career. Like you were like so much like above me and further like in your career than I was. I was just this little like rookie freshman college player
Oh,
like that didn't know anything. So you helped me a lot and I of
oh my
course
God.
remembered it.
Hatchie, I am like so happy that we talked about this. I do remember very vividly you coming into the North Carolina Courage. I recognized right away how much potential you had. You were such a dangerous forward, but you mentioned this a little bit before. The team was so stacked. Lynn Williams and Jess McDonald were typically the starting forwards. And as a rookie, you had to really take advantage of every opportunity you got, which was a lot of the time subbing into the game. But in your rookie season, you scored 7 goals. 3 of them were game winners. You helped us win the Shield. We made it to the championship game. You got named Rookie of the Year. What do you remember learning that first season about yourself, or maybe even like from some of the more experienced players around you?
I learned so much my rookie year. I feel like it was truly like a springboard for me in my career. And I felt like I was so lucky to be able to start my career off like with so many amazing players around me because I truly didn't know what it meant to be a professional athlete. I mean, everyone dreams of being a professional athlete, but you don't really know what that like entails. And so like I remember learning from McCall like how to take care of my body because she was just like so adamant about like stretching and recovery and like all that kind of stuff. So she was the one that I kind of was like taking notes from on just like how to take good care of my body because I mean, of course, generally took good care of my body, but like when you're a professional athlete, that kind of just like is another level that you have to kind of learn. And then like honestly just learning like work ethic from you and Lynn and like being able to play with players like Davinia was just like trainings were insane. They were like so hard, but I absolutely loved it. And I feel like that's something that I learned about myself is just I really love a challenge. And I felt like there was some people were telling me like, oh, like that sucks, you're going to North Carolina, you're never going to play. And then like I on the other end was like, no, this is like such a cool opportunity. No one expects anything from me. And I can go in there and just like get better with no pressure. And if I'm called upon, like great. If not, great, because no one expects anything from me. And so I just really enjoyed that time of like learning and growth. And I mean, all the players that we were surrounded by were all like so amazing and so kind, very competitive, like on the field,
Yeah.
especially in training. But I feel like that's just kind of where I was able to continue to like build myself as a player, and that foundation of just like wanting to work super hard, be super competitive, but also enjoy that like challenge.
I love that perspective. I think that's so impressive that as a rookie, you were able to say, this is actually like a really unique and great opportunity for me to come into this environment and learn and grow from maybe some starters who are playing in front of me, which I find so interesting because the next season, you were part of this pretty high profile trade from the Courage to the Washington Spirit. I'm curious if you viewed that at that time as an opportunity to, yes, get more playing time. You were feeling ready for that maybe, or were you more disappointed to be leaving the Courage? What kind of emotions do you remember having about getting traded?
To be honest, in the moment, I was devastated, just because I was so happy with how my rookie season went. I felt like you learn a lot, right? It's like your freshman year of anything, like high school or college. You just like are trying to like figure out the ropes, like how to take care of your body, how to go from like a 3 or 4 month season to like a 6 to 8 month season. So you're kind of like figuring out all those nuances. So I was really excited to come back to the Courage and like have similar teammates, similar coaching staff, and like just build on what I had already built. And I knew that I could get better in that environment. So I was excited to come back to it because I was actually playing over in Australia in the off season to get more playing time. And so when I got the call, I was like really upset just because I was like really looking forward to coming back to the Courage. But like I tried to see, the silver lining in it. I remember the coach at the time was like, well, you don't start for us, so you'll probably start for them and you'll get a lot of playing time. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's true. So I just kind of
Oh,
like try to see like the positive in it. But it was at
mm-hmm.
the time going from the best team to the worst team.
Yeah, which I feel like is a whole nother element. The year that you were on the Courage, your rookie year, the Spirit had come in last place in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Your first year with them, they were only able to move up to eighth place. And I feel like that's actually such an interesting dynamic to go from being like a sub on one of the best teams in league, or mostly a sub, to go from being, one of a really talented player in their second year on one of the less successful teams in the league. How did you adjust?
It was really hard just because there was just such a gap in the way that like we trained with the Courage and then we trained at the Spirit. And so having that experience with the Courage and then having to go to the Spirit and be like, what's going on? Why are we not training super hard every single day? Or like, why are we not like competing like this? Like I just was comparing everything to how my rookie year was. And so that was really hard. So I just tried to make the most of it, like especially the playing time that I was getting, and just tried to like continue to just add to my experience as a pro. As I look back, because that was Andy Sullivan's first year in the league as well, and that was Aubrey Kingsbury's first year with the Spirit as well. And we've been together through this like whole journey with the Spirit. And I feel like it's funny now to look back and like laugh on it and see how far that we've come. So like I'm grateful for that time now just because we've really like come such a long way. But at the time, like I'm not gonna lie, it was really hard and there was a lot of tears. I remember like losing like 5-1 against Houston, like our third to last game of the season. And we were just like sitting on the field, like, what do we do? Because we were like, we're good players. It's not like we're not good players, but like it just wasn't working for us. Like something wasn't clicking, whether it was the coaching or just the way we were working together. I don't really know what it was, but it just wasn't
Mm-hmm.
working. And so but we made it. We made it through, and it's just something that we can like look back on and be like proud of, that we just like didn't give up, because I'm sure there's many people who would have given up if they experienced that in their second year.
Yeah, it honestly kind of even reminds me of like my first year in Western New York when I was a rookie. We had a similar kind of disappointing season. And sometimes some of us would just look around and be like, why is this? We are good players. Why are we on this team that feels like it's like floundering? And I actually feel like there are a lot of really promising young players in the league right now who have the potential to shine individually, but their team is struggling. And so I think I'm curious about what you think is the key to maintaining a sense of yourself and a sense that you are a good player. You have that confidence when your team isn't winning games.
That's a good question. That's hard. I mean, I think you just ultimately, it comes down to, you need to have that like internal like belief, and it needs to be, it can't be reliant on outcomes, whether your outcomes are good or they're bad. Like, you just need to have that like constantly. And it also is like, what's your end goal? Like for me, my end goal has always been just to continue to be better and just to continue to improve as a player. And so because of that end goal, like no matter what my circumstances are, whether I'm on a championship team or I'm on a losing team, like I can still accomplish that goal and I can still learn from both. And so I feel like if that's your motivator, and if you're wanting to truly just get better as a player wherever you're at in your career, then you'll be able to succeed. Like, it's a lot harder, obviously, when you're not getting the results that you want. But at the end of the day, if you can look back and be like, well, like my effort is still there, I'm still getting better in this area and this area, then like I'm on the right track. So I think that's kind of the way to go about it. And that's kind of what's helped me through all the ups and downs in my career, is just like having that internal belief. And also like, as long as I'm getting better and as long as I feel like I'm doing myself a service by, you know, showing up to training, doing my best, no matter the circumstances, then I can be proud.
Yeah, you've talked a lot about that you started working with a performance coach right around this time in your career. Was there a specific moment that like led you to reach out and ask for help? And is this messaging, kind of what you're sharing with us right now, something that you've learned through your work with a performance coach?
Yeah, definitely. I've learned so much. So it was in 2019 that I reached out to Matt. He actually is my husband's cousin, and he was out in DC for like a job interview or something. And that was the first time I met him. He came to one of our games and we like went to dinner after, and we were just like talking about what he does. And it was actually around that time we had a pretty difficult coach at the time who was just like very like aggressive, and I could tell it was kind of like mentally like kind of messing with me, and like I was playing a little bit scared, and I just felt a little bit of a dip in my mental game that I hadn't experienced before, and I felt myself kind of doubting myself in the field and like the decisions I was making, and I didn't really like the way that I was playing. And so I was like, I feel like I'm getting in my own way and I'm always wanting to improve, but like this is an area that I know I can work on. And so it was after his visit to us that like a week or two, I reached out and I was like, hey, can we actually start working together? And that's when we started. And honestly, it's been a game changer, and it's helped me so much because I feel like I've been able to just like put words to like how I'm feeling, and I've been able
Mm-hmm.
to do just like exercises and activities or journaling or meditation that has actually like really helped me on the field. And not only like on the field, but off the field. I feel like before I was always so stressed about soccer, even when I wasn't on the pitch. I would like come home and just like spin about training or like a decision that was made by the coaches or whatever. And so I felt myself not actually enjoying life off the pitch. And I was just like, I want to be able to enjoy life. And so I was like, I need to be able to just figure out how to like separate this. And he's really helped me kind of figure out this holistic approach to life and just soccer and the mental side of everything.
That is like so amazing to hear, Hatchie. And honestly, I feel like those skills that you learned for soccer and for life will carry you through the rest of your life. Like I think so many people struggle with a separation between work and their personal life and struggle to enjoy their time off because maybe they're still stressed about work. And so I find it incredible that you've like developed those skills through your soccer career, and those you'll carry with you forever. And obviously these really started helping you on the field as well. And in 2021, the Spirit turned things around. You started winning games. You drafted a young Trinity Rodman. You guys won the championship. This was like such an incredible, like, I want to say like Cinderella story year for the Spirit. And you were a story unto yourself. You scored 10 goals in 20 games. You won the Golden Boot. Rewatching some of these goals, you're so fun to watch, Hatchie. Like the way you were doing it in that 2021 season, you can just feel the joy behind every single one of those confident and almost effortless looking shots. What was special for you about this 2021 season, and what energy were you able to channel that brought you back to such elite goal scoring form?
That's a good question. I don't feel like I've really actually like reflected or like reminisced on it that way, but I think the group of girls that we had, we just were having a lot of fun together. And we were obviously, when you start winning games and you're doing well, it just kind of adds to that momentum and that morale as a team. It was a very like trying season for us as a group, like with our coach being fired, like lots going on in the league, coming off of like a COVID year. Like there was so much uncertainty, but the one thing that we had was each other, and it really brought us together. And we kind of had this like fu mentality to the world, and it was like we're just gonna make things happen ourselves. Especially when our coach got fired, that's when we went on our like winning streak to make playoffs. And then when we made playoffs, we were just like, we can do this, like why not? And we just kind of like took it the whole way, and it was really fun. And honestly, yeah, like I don't think anyone at the beginning of the season would have predicted us to do what we did, but because we were so just like committed to each other and proving everyone wrong, and kind of like despite everything that was happening like internally and externally, we just like made it happen. And I think that's why I was able to score so many goals, just because I was having fun and I was playing freely, and the players that I was playing around were doing the same. And it just kind of, when you're like that, it just makes things a lot easier.
I know. My like favorite memories and most successful seasons were the most fun ones, and when I felt the most connected to my teammates. After this huge season with the Spirit, you started getting called in more regularly with the national team. You, as we discussed, had first been called up in 2016 where we were roommates, but in 2022 and 2023, things really kicked up a notch. You started to be a mainstay in camp. So naturally, and Hatchie, you and I have actually talked about this on a podcast before. Everybody was really confused when you were left off the 2023 Women's World Cup roster. I have heard you say that you hadn't gotten any clarity about why you were left out of the squad. And in the wake of that, and I guess reflecting on the time even now, have you found a way to come to terms with it?
I've come to terms with it just because there's nothing I can do about it, and it is what it is. But it also is a very key like moment in my career. I feel like I've often find myself referencing it and how I was able to overcome it because it was so challenging and so difficult. And I often, when I'm talking to like youth players about, trials or like overcoming failures, that's usually the one that I bring up, because it does feel like the biggest, I don't know, quote unquote failure or trial like in my career that I've been able to overcome. And from that moment on, I've kind of made it, I was like, I don't want to be known as the player that didn't make a World Cup roster. Like, there's so much more to me than, making a World Cup roster. And that is a really, really big deal. But like, I don't want to be known for that. Like, there's so much more that I've been able to accomplish than I want to continue to accomplish. So like, I'm just going to focus on moving forward and doing all the things that I'm doing, and playing soccer to the best of my ability, and just seeing how far that can take me and how much I can accomplish with my teammates that I am with every single day. So yeah, I've come to terms with it. I still think that like it's unfortunate, but I feel like been able to like turn it into a positive, and like it's helped me continue to move on in my career and in my life.
Yeah, I think like even hearing you mention there are so many other things that you'll be known for and remembered for and that you've accomplished, like you're also so savvy off the field. And there are a few things I want to ask you about in just a couple of minutes, but I think that to be clear, like I did ask you about this, and now I'm kind of like just kind of rethinking it as when I think of you, this is not what I think of first. I think of all of these accomplishments that you've had, and I think of all the incredible things that you're doing beyond soccer. And so I'm like really amazed and impressed with the way that you have handled the ups and downs of your career. And I know that earlier this year in January of 2025, you got called back into the national team for the first time since 2023. Emma Hayes called you in. And obviously, a lot of times call ups are reflecting how you're playing at club. You had a great season last year with the Spirit. You became one of the highest scoring players in NWSL history. And I feel like focusing on what you can do for your club in the NWSL has allowed you to kind of play like yourself and have this return to Hatchie and be scoring all of these goals and, define yourself on your own terms. And I'm wondering if you think that your relationship now with the national team, whatever it is in the future, if you feel differently maybe than you have felt in the past.
Yeah, definitely. I would say so. I mean, I feel like I'm sure any player who's been like in and out of the national team has experienced those like highs and lows of like, or even like like feelings of like bitterness for not getting called in, or
Totally.
like all of the emotions, like you name it, like we felt it. And but that's part of life, and ultimately at the end of the day, it's always an honor to get called in and be a part of that environment, whatever position you may be in. And so yeah, anytime I get the chance, I'm always excited, a little bit nervous, because you never know what it's going to be like when you're in there and what role you're going to be asked to play. But getting the opportunity to be called in under Emma, I think, was refreshing, just because it was a new environment, like newer players. Just I think in January especially, like there was a lot of like fresh new faces, and so people who like hadn't made I like hadn't really experienced it maybe as much as I had. So I kind of felt like an older player for once, which was kind of weird. So yeah, there was just like a lot of like exciting new energy, and like Emma brings a lot of exciting new energy and like a very like fresh but different perspective. And so like I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I was able to play a little bit more freely. And I feel like also going through what I went through of, not making the World Cup roster, like I kind of experienced the worst of the worst. So like
Mm.
what like what else could happen? Like I'm here, I'm gonna enjoy it, I'm gonna play my best, and just be grateful for any opportunity. And so that's kind of been my mindset and my approach. And anytime that opportunity comes my way, I'm definitely going to make the most of it.
Well, you're making the most of your opportunities with the Spirit so far this season. I think your Spirit team has been so fun to watch because, well, one, it feels like anybody can score. Even defenders like Casey Kruger and Esme Morgan have been scoring goals this season. Then you have free kick queen Lacey Santos. You have the assist queen Croy Bethune. You have been racking up goals this season. And as of this recording, you're again in the Golden Boot conversation, which I think is most impressive considering how much the league has changed since you were a rookie, since you last won the Golden Boot. The rookies are younger. There are these world-class strikers coming in from all over the world. Your resilience and consistency to remain one of the top goal scorers in this league is like so impressive and maybe not talked about enough. I'm curious how you feel you've adapted your game throughout the course of your career in the NWSL to stay one of the best goal scorers.
Well, first of all, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. I mean, I think just for me, kind of what I went back to is like always just wanting to improve. And no matter what stage I'm at in my career, like I'm more of a veteran player, but I'm still like wanting to learn. And I think as a goal scorer, it's really important to know the players around you and the players that you're playing with, because they're the ones that are going to be giving you the service, and they're the ones that are going to be helping you create those opportunities. And so with every team that I've been on, like every year at the Spirit, there's lots of new players, there's lots of change. And so just getting to know my teammates has been really helpful. And then also just, I feel like our coaching staff the past 2 years have really like the way that we train, we play with everyone. I've been on teams where you like starters only play with starters and non-starters only play with non-starters, and that makes it really difficult to create relationships with everyone. And I think that's why you've been able to see that we're such a dynamic team and we can score goals from anywhere and anyone, because we're all doing it always in training, and it makes it super enjoyable. And I'm having fun playing with my teammates, and yeah, I'm just always trying to learn, always trying to improve, and just kind of like build on my game as a striker, whether that's, being a high like post up nine, or coming in and like combining with my teammates and creating other opportunities. And so yeah, I'm always just trying to add to my game.
Yeah, well, I am a huge fan, and it's so fun to watch you continue to thrive in the league. We mentioned a little bit earlier the way that you're developing not only your career on the field, but your skills, and I feel like kind of your brand off the field. And I think one of those things that really blends into both areas was your involvement in negotiating the historic NWSL Players Association CBA, the one that eliminated the draft, ensured free agency, and ended trades without player consent, which was this huge moment in like all of sports, especially American sports, especially for the NWSL. I would love to hear a little bit about your experience helping the PA accomplish such a huge thing. What was that like for you, and how did it feel to get it over the line?
Yeah, it was a really cool experience. So I got invited to be at in-person CBA negotiations. And I remember Tori asking me if I wanted to come. And I was like really nervous because I was just like, I don't know if I like know enough. Like, it's a really big deal to represent the players. I'm sure you know how that is with, the national team and negotiating everything there. But I was like really nervous. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to like study up on all the things that we're negotiating. Like, I want to make sure I represent the players as best I can. It was me and like three or four other players. And it was a really, really cool experience to be able to be a part of history. We're so lucky to have the people that we do a part of our PA, like Megan Burke, Tori Huster, like leading the charge, because they're just like so smart, so thoughtful, so thorough and everything. And so it was really cool to kind of like watch them negotiate for us, and just them like ask what our questions are and our opinions, and be a part of that and be a part of history. And getting it across the line was really, really hard. There was a few days where I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen. We don't really agree on this at all. And we were able to like make it work, like lots of like really long nights. But it was like the first couple of days of our CBA break that we kind of sacrificed to be there for it. And I'm just really proud to see it actually in effect now, and actually like affecting players' lives for the positive, which just makes it all worth it. And I'm so grateful that we have this CBA, just because it really is changing the game, not only for us, but hopefully for other people that are other leagues that are wanting to negotiate CBAs. And it just gives them kind of a blueprint of things to like ask for and to think about for players and just their quality of life. Because if you want to have the best talent, the best players on the pitch, like they need to be happy, and they need to have a choice of like where they want to live, where they want to develop, just how much they want to get paid, all that kind of stuff. So it was really, really cool to be a part of.
That's so incredible. I feel like the players really are so fortunate to have players like you representing them. But like you mentioned, Megan Burke and
Yeah.
Tori Huster, I agree, are very, very capable. And watching from the outside, you all get that across the line was so inspiring and exciting, and something that, of course, is really great for all of the players. So I was thrilled to see it. Hatchie, beyond the NWSL, beyond all of these things that we've talked about so far, you're also working on some other endeavors off the field. You started your own nonprofit, Boots from Pros, where you work with other soccer players to deliver gently used cleats to kids in need around the country. And we mentioned your podcast, Ditto, at the top of the episode. I feel like players investing in themselves outside of sport is so important. And I'm always encouraging players to think about ways they can set themselves up for post soccer. So I think I'm just curious how your podcast and your other off-field ventures have kind of maybe given you a sense of autonomy over your life and your career, both now, but also for the future when you're done playing someday.
I feel like the way you just expressed it is exactly how like I've just kind of had this mindset like shift and perspective shift. I feel like for the majority of like the first half of my career, I was always told like, don't have any distractions, like don't let anything take away from soccer. Like you don't know how long you're going to be able to play. You got to make the most of it. And I 100% agree to the fact that like you want to make the most of it and you don't want to have distractions. But as I continued on in my career, and I found like more interest in like I started Boots from Pros, and I started working with DC Scores in the community, and then like couple years ago, like starting this podcast, I realized that if I'm doing something that I genuinely enjoy, it actually like adds to my life and my joy, and it adds to me as a person, and I'm not so attached to my results on the pitch. Like before, it was like I only had soccer. So if I had a good day of training, I was happy that day. If I had a bad day of training, I felt terrible, and my worth was kind of associated with that. But now that I've been able to find a balance of like, hey, actually, these things give me life and they give me energy, I've really noticed that, like, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I can play soccer for way longer. So, and then also, like you said, like when I'm done with soccer, I naturally have other things that I can pour more time and energy into. And all the skills and like lessons that I've been learning along the way have given me more confidence to be like, okay, like I could maybe see myself doing this or that because of the skills that I've developed doing podcasting or working with other nonprofits and charitable organizations and just working with the PA and like learning about negotiations or all this kind of stuff. So it's almost like I'm just like learning and going to school also while I'm playing, but I get to choose what I want to learn about.
I know it's incredible. So much of what you just said really resonates with me. And I think this idea of how doing some things and having feeling valued outside of soccer actually makes you better at soccer and makes you enjoy it more is so important. Like as we go through our careers, I feel like we start to think of ourselves as this one thing, and we're only good if we play well. We're only worthy if we're scoring goals or making the team. But when you do kind of start to define yourself in other ways, as we've talked about kind of throughout this podcast, it adds to your sense of self-worth. And that's something that won't just make you better on the field now, but it will help the transition. It will help you in the future. So I love everything you just said. This is my last question for you. We've kind of touched on it so much already, but your career has been full of all these ups and downs from club to the national team. I feel like you've kind of experienced everything. And we go into our careers, I think, with this expectation that success means going from being a rookie to like being on a great team, winning championships, scoring lots of goals, making the national team, and having this kind of like linear, steady climb to the top. And I'm curious how the ups and downs and ins and outs and twists and turns of your career have maybe made you reconsider what success looks like and if your definition of success has evolved.
Yeah, I would definitely say my definition of success has evolved. When I first entered the league, my I just was like, I'm going to take it year by year because I have no idea what to expect. And I feel like as I got more comfortable and kind of figured out who I was as a player, like I wanted that, like you said, that steady climb to success. Like I wanted to be scoring lots of goals and winning championships consistently. But as we all know, this league is very unpredictable and very challenging to be a part of. And I think it was that first year with the Spirit when I realized, like, oh, wow, like, it's really not going to be that easy. And then kind of going through that year and then starting to work with Matt, my mental performance coach, my definition of success has definitely changed. I think for me, I just want to be really proud of who I am as a player and as a person. And so if you never know when the game is going to end for you, but for me, like success will be ending the game and just looking back and being proud of the person that I've become and the effort that I put in and, you know, the legacy that I left. And hopefully that'll be a legacy of someone that was very consistent, very hardworking, but also someone that was very kind, very good teammate, like good to the fans, like inspired the next generation. And so for me, that's my definition of success. And obviously, like winning trophies and scoring more goals helps. Like I wouldn't be mad about that. But for me, yeah, I just want to be proud of the person that I am and just be happy with the life that I'm living. And so that's kind of my golden star. If I can just kind of my North Star, if I can keep working towards that, I think that I'll be successful.
Well, from the outside, Hatchie, you should already be so proud. I feel like your career has been so exemplary, and knowing you off the field, you're such an incredible person too. And anybody would be so lucky to have you as a teammate and a friend. So I am so happy that we got to do this and catch up. I'm always cheering for you. And good luck with the rest of the season with the Spirit.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you all so much for listening. Hatchie has such an incredible perspective on her career, and I was actually so touched by her memories of our time as roommates during her first ever U.S. Women's National Team camp. I'm really excited to watch her continue to shine with the Spirit this season, and I'm always rooting for her. Next week on the pod, we have a very special guest. We have U.S. Women's National Team and Kansas City Current midfielder, teenage sensation Claire Hutton, and we'll be going live after each of the 3 U.S. Women's National Team games with some very special co-hosts. So be sure to tune into TWG's YouTube channel right at the final whistle of all of the U.S. Women's National Team games next week. Make sure you're following along with us on social media. And if you aren't subscribed to our newsletter yet, now is the time. It's all of the women's soccer news you need straight to your inbox, delivered first thing every Tuesday morning. Thank you all so much for being here, and we'll see you soon.